y'all, Kraegan here. Welcome to episode 6 of my Let's Play series on Dyson Sphere Program. This is an episode where we are going to start doing our oil refining. We're going to be an oil tycoon. And I have done a little bit of a setup before I did this video. I did some stuff off camera. I did some research, some boring stuff that nobody would want to watch a video on. So this is the, my continuation. I haven't done much since episode 5, except research a bunch of stuff and just kind of wait around until that research was complete. I am going to put a mining machine on this little vein of iron over here that's just sitting there beckoning to me, and I want to put a mining machine on that for the specific purpose of making iron ingots. It seems like I always need those, so and this little iron vein is just sitting there taunting me, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it to supply me with all the iron ingots that I'll ever need. I'm gonna power this guy up, and then I'm going to throw a sorter in here, start making iron ingots, and then pump those into a storage facility. And whenever I need those little guys, I will just grab them. It's gonna work out really nice. And look at that. I'm short on iron ingots to make the storage I need to store iron ingots. See? That's like I'm telling you, I'm always short on them. So that's why I'm building this thing. Alright, so I'm going to just put it right behind it. Or close to it. That'll be good. I don't know if I'll need this space at... You know, I just put it right behind it, and then I'll just throw a sorter. And there we go. We'll have our iron ingot stash. That'll be perfect. Okay, just wanted to set that up real quick, because I'm going to be needing those too once we get this moving here. So I also set up this little area over here, which is pumping out foundation and some other stuff, stone. The foundation pieces are important because I think we're going to need to expand this area here if we start adding more. I mean, we're going to start off with
foundation,
4.
A terrain leveling tool, yet we cannot use it to change the planetary landforms at will. We can only level the surface to ground zero. If the foundation is used for high grounds, it will gain soil pile. On the contrary, if it is used on the ocean or low-lying areas, it must consume soil pile. When installing the foundation, either choose a kind of decoration or without decoration, even only surface leveling.
So you get soil when you level the high ground, and you use it when you for what we just did, like when we put it across the water. We're gonna need a lot of soil because the plans that we have to build our mega research facility, we're gonna be burying a lot of oceans, so let's get some power over here. So our oil extractor is up and running. We're also going to build a chemical plant.
You built a storage tank. It is more suitable for storing fluid than the storage. Each storage tank can only store one single type of fluid and can be built vertically. However, once it has been removed, all the stored fluid will be devastated.
That's an important tip right there. If you ever remove a liquid storage tank, even accidentally, you will lose everything that's in it. So be careful with that. Now, the reason I set these up is because the oil, if I just take it right from the conveyor belt into the refineries, the oil's just going to sit there. Right? It's just going to sit there. Is just gonna, the line's gonna stop. The production of the oil basically is gonna stop, and you basically get like an oil with this particular oil vein. You get like one oil every 1.65 seconds, I think it is. So you've got all that oil that's just sitting there. You're not actually producing anything. If you put it into the liquid storage, you're gonna be storing anything that you can't use right away. You're still gonna be harvesting it, but you won't be using it. So your tank's gonna fill up, and at some point it'll probably get full. I don't think the refineries can keep up with the production of the oil. They might be able to. We'll have to look at that in a later episode, but the point being, you're going to still be even if the line stops moving, the conveyor belt stops moving, and there's not very much oil flowing through the refineries, you're still going to be harvesting it. Like, you're not going to stop harvesting it. Now, this is something I've run into before, kind of frustrating. When you line things up, the conveyor belts, you get to this situation where you can put a conveyor belt down, but you can't do anything with the conveyor belt because your building is too close to it, so you can't use a sorter on it. And I always like to line things up. I always like my buildings to be in, rows and stuff like that. So things like this really bug me. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if it has to do with the curvature of the planet you're on. No idea. But if you can, as you can see, the sorter, it works there, but if you go down the line a little bit to this, to that last building, can't put it in there. It's too close. So you do run into that from time to time. It's very frustrating. I've run into it probably 3 or 4 times, and it is the only thing I don't like about this game. Truly. This is a great game, but that's one thing that frustrates the crap out of me, so we'll work around it for right now. I'll curb my OCD and not worry about the buildings not being in perfect lines there. Now that's the recipe we're going to make. It produces oil, refined oil, excuse me, not crude oil, refined oil, and hydrogen. Normally, when I first did this, and there's our liquid storage tank for our crude oil, as you can see, oil's still being stored. We're just not using it. If we just pulled our conveyor belt out of the extractor and sent it directly to the refineries, there'd be a lot of oil that would just be sitting there. We wouldn't be harvesting any. So again, it's a reason for the liquid storage tank. Looks like we might need a little bit more power to get this thing going, so I'm gonna add to that. And the refined oil that's coming out of the refineries, we are going to use that to... Normally, when I first set up refineries, when I first started, playing this game, and I played it a couple hours, and did a couple things. When I first set up refineries, I had all this extra oil. I pumped it off into a liquid storage tank because I didn't know what to do with it. But I found that later on in the game, you need sulfuric acid, which is a component for other parts that you don't need right now, but you'll need later. So this area where we're going to be setting up our refineries is set up perfectly for the production of sulfuric acid. You need refined oil, you need water, and you need stone. And we have our oil refineries right here. We've got water and we've got stone, and it's all in that little area. So we will be building a chemical plant to produce sulfuric acid, and then pumping that off into a liquid storage tank until we can use it to create, I forget the name of the part, but it's one of the parts that you need to create the solar sails that we'll see in later episodes. Now I am updating my power, my thermal power stations with the quicker sorters. They still had some of the older, slower sorters there. So I want to make sure I get the quicker ones. Those will help feed those plants faster, and as the demand for power increases, they'll be able to keep up. So we're going to create our other buildings that we need for this episode. And some more sorters too. Try to get as much power as we can. That's going to be important. We don't want our power to become taxed by what we're building. And once we start producing red cubes, we're going to be doing basically a large matrix lab facility that's going to process both blue and red cubes so that we can do our next stage of research. And as you can imagine, that's going to consume a lot of power. So we'll need to definitely plan for that. So, okay. So, storage. We've got our chemical plant here. And again, this is an excellent place for a chemical plant for sulfuric acid generation. So we're going to do that. There it is right there, sulfuric acid. And you've got refined oil, stone, water. So our stone's coming out right here. So I'm just going to take a conveyor belt, pump that dude right into the chemical plant. Sometimes you can't put it on the very end there. I'll try it. Yeah, see, sometimes you just can't. The sorter's got it. You gotta. It looks like it's gonna go into that side of the building, but it doesn't. That's another frustrating point in the game. Still, not bagging on the game. It's just you gotta work around stuff like that. So, we've got our stone. Gonna need to power this. We don't have power on it yet. And the Tesla towers, I know there's other ones that you can use. There's ones that help you recharge your mech and stuff like that. I don't like they don't have as wide a radius as the other ones, so I don't technically use those very often. I like the wider radius, even though those are, not as good technology. Okay, so the water. I was thinking about whether I needed to use a storage tank with this water, like pump it into it, like the same thing basically with that I'm doing with the oil. Pump it into a storage tank, then drain it out of the storage tank into the chemical plant. I don't think I'm going to do that with the water. I think we'll be fine on the water. We don't need that much water. I think we'll be good. We do want to pump the refined oil into a tank, though. So we're going to be generating quite a bit of refined oil out of the refineries. So we're definitely going to need a place to put that. Now, as you can see, my iron ingot plant is just cooking away here, and that is a godsend, I'm telling you right now, because iron ingots, I am always short on those. Always a shortage of those. So let's get our power set up here. Now, your storage tanks don't need power. That's kind of a cool thing about storage tanks. Just make sure we got everything covered here. That's good. Okay. So we've got stone going in, we've got water going in, we need the refined oil. So we need to set up our refineries. Start pumping out oil and throwing it into the chemical plant. So we'll get that going here. What I plan to do is just come out of the side of these refineries with the oil. It's going to produce two products like we saw earlier. So we're going to take the oil out one side, hydrogen out a different side, and we'll have two different conveyors. You could set up a splitter on this, but excuse me, I haven't found those too useful yet. I mean, I have used them in some circumstances, but for something like this, it's going to work better to just set up your conveyor belts how you'd like and just use those, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like sorters, but I'm not a huge fan, so I'm going to redo this and just set up my buildings. And I'm going to run into the same problem. I just looked and I could get a conveyor belt by there, but you know what? I'm going to run into the same issue, I bet. It's going to be too close. And if it's too close, then of course we're going to run into issues there. Alright, let's get some more conveyor belts going. So I'm going to run the conveyors for the, let's do the oil. We're going to run the refined oil out the back of the refineries, or is that the front? I'm not sure if that's the front or the back. We'll run it out this way, basically just right up into the storage tank. It's weird, why doesn't it? Okay, I'll just do it the hard way. So the oil's just going to be pumping right out into those storage tanks. And then we'll run a conveyor from the storage tank to the chemical plant. And that should be the last component we need, and we'll start generating sulfuric acid. Now, sulfuric acid, again, you want a liquid storage tank for that. If you try to put it in a storage building, you're not going to get very much. It's going to fill up very quickly. So definitely make a storage tank for the extra. I'm going to put a couple more refineries down. I only planned on 4, but 6 should be fine. We have enough power to do that. And we should be able to feed quite a few refineries based, from the extractor that we're using, especially since we're stockpiling the crude oil in the liquid tanks. Let's bring that guy down here. And when you're connecting a conveyor to like the main line, like the way we're doing it here, you can intersect them. But if you're going the other way, you can't. It's kind of weird. I guess it makes sense, but it'd be nice if you could if there was a way you could do that, in the opposite direction. But anyway. That looks good. We need some power on this end guy here. Let's just drop that in there. That should fix our problem there. Okay. So we've got a place for our oil to go. We need to set up. Yeah, if I don't need a sorter, this is going to work, because it doesn't matter if it's too close to put a sorter. I won't need one. I can just drag the hydrogen right out of the see that actually might work. So the hydrogen is going to come out this side and go into our labs that will be over in that empty area over there. So that'll work actually really well. Actually, I just put a sorter on the end there and it fit. So I can get rid of all these conveyors and just pump them right out onto that line with a sorter, which is good. I mean, I thought I wouldn't have enough space to put the sorter down there, but I do. So we'll filter hydrogen on that, make sure the hydrogen is coming out and the oil's going down the other line. And this is actually going to probably work out really well. Quite well. Hydrogen. Excellent. More hydrogen. There we go. Is that too close? Dang. I thought I was going to get around that one. Well, that's okay. On this end one, we'll put a conveyor in there. We'll just work around that problem. But we can save some conveyors by doing the direct sorter route with the others. We'll just have to modify it for the end one. That's what this game's all about. Working through problems, trying to figure out the best way to go. So, alright, well that does it for episode 6, Oil Tycoon. In the next episode, we're actually going to crank these bad boys up and we're going to see what they can do. We'll get our red cube production on the way. So episode 6, thanks for watching. If you like, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video, episode 7. Thanks for watching. Kraegan out.